Carlos Ghosn, it ain't over. Hi everyone, welcome back to Tokyo on Fire. It is December 11th, 2018. Carlos Ghosn was rearrested yesterday for an additional 22 days. Michael, it's going to be Christmas in the detention center for Carlos Ghosn.
It looks like it's going to be a long time that he's not going to be seeing his family or anybody important. He's going to be in there for as long, really, as the prosecutors want. They have been bleeding out throughout this process a set of things that he could be arrested for, and they made a rearrest this Monday in order to extend his stay as a guest of the Japanese government.
You know, Michael, we have to go back to this because the press is just full of stories, and some of it is almost a suggestion of fake news because we're only hearing one side of the story, and it is almost as if it's prepackaged and it is designed to really just push him into oblivion.
Well, they have a problem in that they don't have a cooperative defendant in either case, whether you were talking about him or the co-defendant, Kelly. They have not acquiesced to any kind of crime that then the prosecutors can show magnanimity and let them go, and then they work out whatever it is. What will happen in that kind of scenario is that Mr. Ghosn is tried, he is found guilty, he's given a suspended sentence, there's money that is restitution that is paid, and he is allowed to return to society, but at a much lower level. That's part of the entire play that has to go forward, is that he can return, but never again at the chairmanship level of something like Nissan.
Oh, I mean, the fall from grace, I mean, this is precipitous. I mean, he was at the top of the game. He was on the world platform, and now he is, by design, in the toilet.
Well, he's in a very small room, let's put it that way.
Right.
The point is that it's very hard to be sympathetic to a person who makes tens of millions of dollars per year. And both the press, particularly the Asahi Shimbun, and the prosecutors know this. And also the executives who seem to have, I mean, I'm going to use a bold term, framed him in terms of this deferred compensation issue. They could have told him, no, this is not going to fly. They could have privately tried to rearrange the entire system. So that the compensation is up front, that there would not be some kind of legal problem, but instead the legal department went to the prosecutors rather than working it out internally. And that's one of the things that's being asked. Why wasn't this worked out internally? Why is it being done through the police? Well, seems to have been what it was called on the first day, a palace coup.
You know, it actually smells just like that. I mean, we have seen this before in other companies and other corporations inside chambers of commerce, that this kind of, grenade is kind of rolled under the bed, and it causes a great explosion, and, follow the money. Who comes in afterwards? How is the power redistributed after something like this? And you can pretty much almost always figure out where the culprits are.
Well, the thing is here, the lieutenants inside Nissan, who were the ones who went with the evidence of wrongdoing, depending on whether you define deferred payment as wrongdoing or not, which the prosecutors are saying that it should be listed inside the financial statements. Whether the amount has been determined or not, it seems to be where the ball is being tossed back and forth. Ghosn supposedly was going to replace the president. That's one of the things that has come out in the last few weeks. This question that whether he's going to be replaced. He was thinking about hitting Saikawa first, and Saikawa preempted him by going to the police. When did each know about the other's plans? Is it part of the timeline that's interesting in terms of reconstructing what happened?
Right.
What were the red flags that each one of them saw? I mean, what do you do at that point?
Right. Well, mostly it's speculation because we don't know. We only know one side of the story, and I can tell you this: that whenever Ghosn gets out of detention, there will be fists a-flying.
Well, but the thing is about this, where we're trying to get with it is, okay, what is the implication for other non-Japanese CEOs? Because okay, by definition, when a foreign CEO is brought in, that person is expected to make changes.
Right.
And no one is ever brought in from outside of Japan to be a lifer in a Japanese, to pretend to be a lifer in a Japanese corporation, to do it like everybody else. So by definition, it's that nail that sticks out issue.
Right.
You know, you're going to be someone doing something really different. Does the Carlos Ghosn story show that anybody who comes in is going to be at danger of being being hammered down?
Well, we've seen this before. You and I have lived here for a long time. We've helped hundreds of companies in situations like this. Not only are you not going to be a lifer, but you are almost immediately expendable. You're not part of the group. You're not part of the team. We try and make it feel like it, but you've come in for a specific job.
Oh, we'll make manga about you.
Yes.
We'll invite you to nice dinners. We'll say nice things about you. But whether that's going to be meaningful or not, Ghosn knew that part of it was just PR. He could probably look at the way people were treating him and could read them. But in this case, he clearly did not get any kind of heads up regarding police action, which just probably never entered his mind as one of the possibilities. That
it wouldn't have entered my mind. I mean, the illegalities he's allegedly has committed are something that as a CEO you would run through legal check. It's not something you would do on the fly. So he
and it
felt
would have
confident.
to be okayed by the board. It would have to be done by something. Now, people have pointed out, scholars have pointed out that the management structure of Nissan, due to its having been saved by Ghosn, was grossly underdeveloped in terms of governance. That they didn't have many of the functions that modern international companies have, and that because it was a Japanese company and because it was saved from the outside, there was a double punch of a stripping away of the layers of protection that would have been normally there, that would have prevented some kind of power grab by Ghosn and a counter power grab by Saikawa.
We've seen this before. What happened at Olympus? The CEO, a foreign CEO, Michael Woodward,
brought in,
was there to kind of shake things up.
Was there to fix things.
Fix things. And it came to his attention that things were kind of not really being fixed. I mean, we're even seeing this now. One of the young lawyers has just had a press conference 2 weeks ago and said, you know, I'm working at Olympus. They're not doing it, and I'm holding a press conference. I mean, this is outrageous.
Yeah, but when he said, okay, this is what the problem is, that the company that he was there to save didn't want to save itself.
They turned on him.
It was something that he had not expected. Here, Ghosn is being turned on by the very executives that he cultivated, that he created, that he made as his team. Again, you know, it begs the question: can an outside CEO function in the Japanese environment? And it's not unfair to ask that question, even though a lot of people are saying, "Oh no, this is special." Ghosn was especially greedy, that he was, you know, he had gone too far.
Right.
Okay, so what was far enough then? If everything was okayed by the same people who then later turned him in.
Right. Well, there's another dynamic going on here that it kind of affects other CEOs, foreign CEOs who are running companies here in Japan. Foreign companies come in, they set up a KK, a subsidiary of their mother company. They pack it with sometimes seasoned executives from the home office. They hire people, they get the business going, and usually there's a bit of a transition that goes on to get from the foreign executives to the local executives. Sometimes that's a 20-year process. But invariably, these foreign executives are now looking around their shoulders, seeing, you know, the teams that they've collected, and, you know, is my time coming abruptly too?
No, and it's entirely fair to think about that now, because one of the things that's demoralizing in terms of, even for common citizens here in Japan, is that, okay, the Keidanren can get basically whatever it wants from the LDP and Mr. Abe in terms of government regulation. We saw that in the overwhelming support for the immigration immigration bill that just passed. Despite the fact the opposition tried to stop everything, despite the fact the press was very critical of this bill, the Keidanren wanted it, they got it. When you look at, so the LDP is basically a servant many times of big business. That and the powers that be, the establishment, if you want. Then that's that. And then you see Mr. Abe does a lot of favors for his friends as well. Okay, so they have a lot of influence. Do they also have to have influence over the judicial branch? Can they also use the judicial branch as merely one of their servants? That's the only really, well, it's basically a constitutional issue here that, the prosecutors have basically, because of the strange deal that they cut with the Nissan executives, become the servants of a palace coup within the Nissan Corporation. Will they learn from this, or will they double down and say, no, we were right all along, this is fine, and we'll do it again?
Yeah, I don't know. I have two views on that. The first is, let's talk about the public prosecutors just for a second.
Okay.
These guys are, I think, arguably the cream of the crop. They've been trained as legal graduates.
They're the top graduates of the top program of the top university.
Right.
Okay, given.
And they're in a very difficult, very contentious environment.
Very visible, too.
Very visible.
As they're in the Capitol, and they're the ones who put out the big cases.
Right. They're criticized a lot, but they are soldiers for what they believe to be Japanese culture and government, right? So, yes, I think there is a suggestion that they have been overlorded or perhaps manipulated in this case, but I think they would take great umbrage at that.
Well, of course, but the thing is, they can't admit that they got played. Because
no, they can't.
They absolutely would. That would destroy their reputation. So they're going to play along, whether they're moral inside or not. The question is where does it go forward? Do we now say, okay, if we take the cynical view, which is actually the positive view, which is they won't do it again. They realized they got involved in something that they didn't understand. They were played by the Nissan executives, and they won't do it again. That view at least opens keeps the door open for futures. The future will be different.
Right.
But if you take the opposite view, then the future is closed off, and indeed everyone should worry.
Right. My second view is that frequently this is how Japan practices foreign policy. It hits a company, a violator of some sort of a law or regulation, and they do it in a very splashy way so that the signal is sent out to their foreign trading partners, or internally in companies they do a raid or something like that. And it is possible that this kind of deferred compensation, executive payment, because of the executive payment here in Japan, it's just so strange compared to what's going on externally. A lot of executives get paid 50, 60, 70 times what the normal regular line worker gets. And here that is really, that's looked down upon. But the point is that one of the reasons why I think we don't like what's happened to Carlos Ghosn is because there's a suggestion that, look, if he's doing it, everybody's doing it. Why him, right? And it's a kind of a foreign prejudice, but maybe it's not a foreign prejudice, but it's them sending a signal to the rest of the economy, don't do it like this because this will happen to you too. Even if Carlos Ghosn can get hit, you can too, to kind of pour water on that.
But the thing is, I've always been suspicious about particularly the way that foreign institutions are treated. For example, in terms of advice giving by to wealthy wealth management, it's Citibank that gets hit, or Deutsche Bank that gets hit by the financial services agency, and then the rules are spread out for the Japanese banks to follow. It's been a recurring pattern, and if you're a foreign, whether you're the foreign head of a Japanese corporation or a foreign business, the chance that you will be made the example for everybody else is not insignificant. And how do you protect yourself at that point?
Well, actually, when I was the general counsel at Apple Computer in 1995, the same situation came up. This was a long time ago. Apple had just entered the market. Apple, Dell, Compaq, there were a couple of foreign computer makers who were entering the market. NEC owned the computer market. And Apple knew that the hammer was going to come down. It was going to come down on one of the foreign competitors. And the instructions I got from John Sculley directly was, make sure when that hammer comes down, it doesn't hit Apple. So yes, there was a strategic and sequential place of resources so that when the hammer came down, we were the least likely to get hit. But yes, everybody's a free market there because the foreigners are the ones that are the most easily expendable.
To put it very bluntly, foreigners don't vote. Foreigners can't give to you in terms of political donations. You hit the foreigner, you get him, you make the point, and you preserve your voters and you preserve the people who can give you money. It's that simple in my view.
You know, what you say is really carries a lot of weight. We see this not only in terminations of foreigners working in Japanese companies and foreign companies. We see it happening to people whose spouse has kidnapped their child. It happens a lot to Japanese people too, but it happens somehow disproportionately to foreigners. They're married to a Japanese spouse. The Japanese spouse kidnaps or takes the kids, and that's a done deal.
It's something that you have to pay attention to if you're going to be here. And the thing is, with this new immigration bill, with all the business that's being created, and with the fact that Japan is open in terms of immigrants, in terms of the fact that there are fewer and fewer Japanese per year, this Ghosn story is not going away.
Right. Japan's a lovely place to live. There are lots of ins and outs, things that you love about it, things that you don't. Please stay tuned.